Some talk of Alexander and some of Hercules, of Hector and Lysander and such great names as these. But of all the world's great heroes, there's none that can compare with a tow-row-row and a row-row-row to the British Grenadiers. Those heroes of antiquity ne'er saw a cannonball, or knew the force of powder to slay their foes withal. But our brave boys do know it and banish all their fears. Sing a tow-row-row and a row-row-row for the
Was sollen wir machen?
Llegaba la cuenta restaurar. Había subido la marea.
The FV520 CTAS40, also called the 40mm, or the warrior who struggles with oversize, is a British IFV and an example that simply making things bigger is not going to help defeat Russian armor spam. To see why it suffers from the same level of obesity as the Furubunker himself, let's do a tank comparison. Oversized gun with underwhelming performance. Unnecessary exaggerated hull with too much armor, no ATGM. Poor engine placement right in front of the gunner. Unpractical commander sight with bad visibility and no remote controlled machine gun. Unlike its Russian counterpart, the 40mm is outnumbered and slow, lacking the potential to escort maniac low-G drivers. Instead of being useless trying to do so, you adapt and honor your ancestors by behaving like a Scottish berserker charging towards the enemy to murder the helpless foe with your oversized weapon.
Da siehst du, genau vor uns.
Repeat the process until all adversaries have been annihilated, but keep in mind that since the Brexit crippled Britain's ability to import basic things like fuel, or actual food, it also seemed like being non-aligned in the 21st century is considered more important than having access to ATGM. Therefore you and your big gun are left with only 81 rounds to fight enemy armor, which is basically nothing considering that you burn through that shit faster than the British Empire went through its slimming program post 45. This unfortunately limits your operational range to about 50 meters around the nearest repair station, meaning that after the first engagement, and being forced to have some fresh tea at your base, you now have two choices depending on your team's stupidity level. In case you are the unfortunate fellow who was put alongside weekend wannabes facing merciless try-hard clans, you surrender and let the infantry play their game. Act supportive and use your big gun to perform short peeks on enemy strongholds. But avoid getting greedy against targets which are covered by thirsty Russian Doom launcher. Because your overly exaggerated hull might be good at bouncing AP shells but offers zero protection against rockets. Also keep in mind that the 40mm is very good at supporting allied main battle tank. Due to its multiple layers of fat it can absorb up to 2 hits by enemy MBT, making it a perfect bait for thirsty Russian gunners. And in case your team casually derps out, you can still make use of the fact that even main battle tanks can handle your big gun. So in a world where 30mm guns bounce off side armor and 40mm guns frontally penetrate main battle tanks, what is balance? In case you are lucky and your team somehow seems decent, you finally get to fulfill your true intention. Defending the homeland by acting like a static bunker. You do this by finding an overwatch position. Digging up cover for your big hull. And setting up car maintenance so your big gun can reload. Keep in mind that in order to prevent your big gun from starvation, you must constantly stay in contact with truck simulator players. So, when politics are done, and the high ground is secured, you finally get to rule over the battlefield like a sir.
Wand davor oder was?
Ja.
Oh, ich hab ihn raus.
The Fatty Millimeter is armed with the infamous 40mm cased telescoped armament system, which has access to 0 ATGM and a total of 162 rounds, split into 81 armor-piercing and the same number of high-explosive squash head. You also get a 7.62mm coaxial machine gun, which fires slower than the network expansion in Germany and uses a pathetic total of 11 individually loaded belts.
It's so gloriously impractical. It couldn't be more British if it tried.
On the defensive side you get the standard counter-weed package, consisting of 2 weed charges and the exhaust weed generator operated by the driver. As said before, the Fatty Millimeter has good protection against kinetic rounds. But like all other IFV gets completely fucked by chemical energy weapons. At least one advantage of your big gun is that the unusual thickness actually prevents it from constantly overheating. Unlike Russian counterparts who die to less than 30 rounds and struggle to penetrate your stupidly over-armored hull anyway. Due to the fact that the commander's sight is useless, the optimal number of players for this vehicle remains at 2. I mean seriously, this thing has the biggest turret of all the infantry fighting vehicles. No ATGM, but doesn't feature a 360-degree commander sight. The BMP has the smallest turret and is fitted with an ATGM while retaining a 360-degree traversable commander sight that is actually useful. On top of that, your oversized fat engine is so bad that it produces 3 times as much smoke than others, obscuring the gunner's vision when hit.
British engineering.
For some reason the Fatty Millimeter spawns with 160 out of 162 rounds. Not like you had much ammunition anyway. Therefore driving across the repair station will get you 1.235% additional ammunition to fuck Russian pop stars. This is how you play the Fatty Millimeter. Now go out there and roll around while you still can.
Hier oben, hier bleiben.
Bruh.
Ich seh nichts wegen dem ganzen Rauch. Ich seh gar nichts. Gar nichts. Absolut nicht. Der ist auf der linken Seite. Linke Seite. Jetzt sehe ich. Ja, bin leer, Alter.
Ja, schieß HE weiter.
Er ist geplatzt. Er ist geplatzt.